Let's get ready to story!
I think this should do it, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Actually, couldn't be less accurate. I had about 14 minutes sleep last night. When I began skateboarding, it was the mid-1980s, and the air was filled with the stench of the decaying corpse of America. Those were the Reagan years. Scranton was crumbling away like a desolate outpost of a dead empire. Lackawanna Avenue was still a desolate row of brick buildings that housed nickel draft bars, greasy spoon diners, and peep shows. I was about 13 years old, but most of the guys that I rode with were much older than I was. And I remember one night sneaking out of my parents' house to a waiting car and coming downtown for a midnight skate session in Scranton. And we ended up in a municipal parking garage. Like an empty swimming pool, the garage became our skate park because we don't have one. And we were sitting up at the top smoking cigarettes, and somebody who might be here produced a can of spray paint. And he went up to a pillar and he sprayed a huge black A inside of a circle. The anarchy symbol. And it stood there like a raven black and resonant, and it just seemed to scream in the face of all the shit that was around us. And it said that we had placed society on scales and found it wanting. We laughed like maniacs, and we rolled down the downward spiral and out into the street. A couple weeks later, I was skating in an unfamiliar neighborhood with a bunch of kids younger than I who I hardly even knew, and we were cutting through some backyards, and there in the grass beside a garage we found a can of spray paint. And I popped off the cap, and before the horrified eyes of these kids, I went and I sprayed a lurid green anarchy symbol on that naked white wall. And then in the yard next to us, there was a rusted out old Ford propped up on cinder blocks. That got an anarchy symbol on the passenger side door. And I went on like Sherman's march through Georgia. That can gave out with a desiccated hiss. It was probably about a day or two later when the knock came on the door and the South Abington cop was standing there with all of his weapons and his gadgets hanging off his building. He wanted to ask me some questions about this spree of vandalism that had taken place. Apparently my name had been mentioned in conjunction with the crime. So did I, like a proper anarchist, scream, "Remember Emma Goldman," and just grab his gun? No, I lied. I lied my face off. I lied like a politician, frankly. I said not only did I not know anything about this vandalism, but I never even go to that neighborhood anyway. So after he left, my parents briefly cross-examined me before I was allowed to step down from the witness stand. And then I eavesdropped from the top of the stairs and I listened. And I found out that I was found not guilty. I'd gotten away with it. But over the next few days, it was on my thoughts all the time. So later the next week, I was skating the deadly slope of Stone Avenue in Clark Summit. If you know it, it's a hell of a hill. It's a black diamond. And skating with some friends there, and we saw this familiar figure coming up the hill towards us. It was Amin. Now, Amin was this nasty little bully we all knew from school. He hated skaters, and he took any opportunity he could to let us know how he felt about us. Well, he was coming from 20 yards away, and he's saying, "Hey, faggot!" That was his gig. He's going, "Come on, faggot!" And I got the impression that he was speaking directly to me. A few minutes later, I was certain when he pushed me into my chest, and he said, "Hey, faggot! You think you're a big man with your spray paint, don't you?" See, it turned out that the rusted-out old Ford had belonged to some member of Amin's family. My heart sank, and I just kind of stared at him. And I said, I'm not going to fight you. And I turned around and I started walking up the hill. Because you see, some part of me felt that in this situation, he was actually right. So he pushed me again from behind. He said, "Faggot, come on, show me where the man go!" And I said again, I'm not going to fight you. And I just kept walking up the hill. So eventually he saw that he wasn't going to get the reaction that he wanted out of me, and he started down the hill yelling curses and threats at me as I walked up the hill. And when I got to the top, my astonished friend said, "Why didn't you defend yourself?" And I just said that there wouldn't have been any point. You see, Amin was a nasty little prick. But he was defending his home. And the fat cop, he was right too. I mean, it was vandalism. It wasn't beautiful or pointed or true what I had done. I was showing off. I was trying to impress some kids. And I was weighed on the scales, and I was found wanting. So, it wasn't the last time that I lied to my parents, and it wasn't the last time the cops were at my door. And it wasn't the last time I did graffiti. But it was the last time that I vandalized anything. See, from then on, it was beautiful, or it was pointed, but it was always true. From then on, it was art.